Hey, good morning. Welcome to my page. I am your host, C. Olson Brown, and I want to give a high five, a fist bump, a shout out to all the listeners tuned into this motivational channel. I wanted to hop on really fast. I'm on my way to work. I just got finished PTing this morning or exercising. Usually, the military wake up and exercise between the hours of 6 and 7:30, or sometimes we wake up at 5 if you're doing individual PT. But I wanted to hop on really fast. First of all, I want to encourage you to like this page, subscribe to this page. It's called Dreams in Action. I am a future clinical therapist in which I am taking the exam on this September to become a licensed clinical physician, clinician. But that's for another story. But I wanted to hop on really fast and just encourage somebody this morning and say that you are more than enough. Let me say that again. You are more than enough. I was reading, for those who are religious, I was reading through this book called the Bible, and I was going through fascinated with some of the people who have done some incredibly heinous things, but yet they were still chosen. They were still chosen by God to do remarkable things. And so I want to encourage you, anyone who's thinking somehow that your life situation is somehow exclude you from being able to go on to do great things. For example, I was reading this character by the name of Moses. He was a criminal. In fact, he committed murder and was on the run for years and years and years. And he met God at this crossroad of his life, and God told him to take off his shoes because the place he was standing on was holy. And so God used him to send him back to a place where he was running because he killed someone. He was a murderer. I don't know if some murderers may be listening to this page, but I want to encourage you, if you have never murdered someone, why are you excluding yourself? Are you worse than them? But yet God still chose to use him, and God can still choose to use you. Now let's just back up for a second. Can you ever thought the person that he took out perhaps may have had a wife or children? Imagine the children now growing up without a father, or the wife not having a husband because Moses murdered. Yet God still used him to do incredible things. Are you worse than Moses? Let's take David, for example, whom we esteem, who says, God says, David is a man after my own heart. And we esteem David. Us religious fanatics, we esteem David. Are we worse than David? David, let's see, he was the king. He was the highest office in the land. There's a story that says that when all leaders or when all kings went out to battle, David stayed home. We could talk about this another time. Well, I surmise that David was dealing with PTSD. He was dealing with moral injuries. He was dealing with traumas in his life for years that he never processed. Now, he's at home and he go up to the rooftop, and it says that as he went up to the rooftop, he was gazing over and he saw this fine Middle Eastern bronze beauty whose breasts were voluptuous. Her womb was wet. It was amazing. She was in the most beautiful sight, and David thrived her, desired her, and he summoned her. And as a result, I'm not going to tell all the intimate details, she became pregnant. Now, she had a husband, and her husband was part of David's army. Wow, interesting story. Now, David gets her pregnant and lies, tried to summon the young man to come home from war, Afghanistan, Iraq, or any Sudan, any other places that his people were deployed to. Now, David is in the highest office of the land. Impregnate this woman whose husband is fighting for him faithfully, tries to encourage him to go in to sleep with his wife, but yet he chose not to. And so David now writes a letter, sent to his general, and said, I need you to place this cook. Well, I'm taking a little prophetic leeway in this. And he says, hey, I want you to take this young man and I want you to put him in the heat of the battle in the front of the line, and he's going to be killed. Now his general reads the letter and says, this young man, he's not qualified to be out there with my forward observers. He's He has not been to Sears training. He's not a special operator. In fact, why am I putting him out here? He's a cook. He's a budget guy. He's not trained to be able to, do different kinds of movements. And so as a result, he's killed. David lies. And so God still uses David. Are you worse than David? Of course, you know the story. He repents and, he laments, and God forgives him and, says, David is a man after my own heart. Now, are you worse than David? To not be used to do remarkable things? You more than enough. Let's take my final one before I get out of here. Let's take the one who we esteem greatly. The Apostle Paul in the New Testament, whose name used to be Saul. Now, Saul was feared by people, the religious folks, because he would take out religious people. Really, I mean, when I say take out, can I be specific? He would tie individuals up to animals and smack the animals, and the animals would go various ways. And yes. So Saul, Paul, he was a heinous, horrible guy that religious people feared him. In fact, let's just say Paul would engage in ethnic cleansing, that he mutilated and killed numerous people. Communities were ravaged because of Paul. Children, fathers, mothers, communities were ravaged because of Paul. Yet he finds God on the pathway of the light, and whoa! Okay, I'm taking a little creative leeway here. Not necessarily being sarcastic, but what I'm saying here is this. Don't ever allow anyone to shame you or to put you in a place somehow that you begin to believe that you are not good enough. You are more than enough. I want you to recognize that you are more than enough. So whatever your dream, your goal, your aspirations that in life that you're going after, you can be used. You are more than enough. So I don't care if you've lost a child, have had an abortion, have been divorced, or have had several husbands or several wives. Who cares? You are more than enough. If you recovered from drugs or you struggle with other kinds of things, you are more than enough. So I want to encourage you this morning. Get up, dust yourself off, and keep going. This is C. Olson Brown. Glad to have you part of this page. Hey, click like, share. Come on. Let's get some more people to join in. Talk to you later. Talk to you soon.